Hey, First Things First listeners, before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Now let's start the show. Houston, we have a problem, and it involves superstar quarterback Deshaun Watson. Can Phillip Rivers upset the Bills in tomorrow's battle in Buffalo? And it'll be Chase, and Brady in the nightcap. Chase Young, Tom Brady, as we gear up for Wild Card Weekend. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wildes. Nick, buddy, isn't this one of your favorite weekends of the year?
I'm just excited. Exactly right. Jenna knows my favorite weekend of the entire sports year historically has been divisional round weekend. Yep. 4 amazing playoff games. We've never had a weekend like this. 6 playoff games. 6 games to bet. 6 games to pick. We've never had it. We've never had it.
My fingers. Well, here's one of them right now. In Pittsburgh for the Browns and the Steelers. For Cleveland, they need to beat the Steelers for the second time in 8 days. In Pittsburgh, without their head coach and a number of key starters all out due to COVID issues. For their opponent, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are no longer resting anybody. Everybody's full throttle, full go. Steelers, Browns. Brandon, it is time for your keys to the game. What are your keys to Baker and the Cleveland Browns upsetting the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, this game is going to be a simple game. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a really good game to watch. And there's 3 keys to victory for the Cleveland Browns. Number 1, it starts with Baker Mayfield. 0 turnovers. Baker has done a phenomenal job over the second half of this season protecting the ball. He needs to continue to do that. The last 315 pass attempts, he has 1 interception. And that 1 interception made me and Nick Wright come together and almost go to blows. So he needs to protect the ball so Nick Wright and I don't fight come Monday. That's number 1.
That's right.
Number 2, Chubbs and Hunt. They need to combine for 175 rushing yards, at least. This is a team, and you don't have to be an analyst. You don't have to be a 13-year NFL veteran. You don't have to have any experience like that to know exactly who this team is. We know the recipe for success for the Cleveland Browns is running the ball. They need to run the ball like they did last week against the same defense. They went for 190 yards. They can get it done there. And the last thing is, Alex Van Pelt needs to be aggressive. A lot of times when you're thrust in the spotlight and you're like, you're the guy now, you're more conservative. Nick, you talked about this earlier this week where you were a little nervous with Prefer and this Cleveland Browns team. It's like, man, when you're house sitting for somebody that you really like, you're more conservative. You do everything you can to make sure that thing is intact. So when they come back, they're proud of you. So Alex Van Pelt, I encourage you to do the opposite. If it's 4th and 1, lean more towards going for it. You get in the red zone, you go for it. If you score a touchdown, go for the 2-point conversion. So I like that, and I got that from you, buddy.
Lean all the way in.
And because that is a concern that Prefer and game management, Van Pelt in play calling, they're going to say, this isn't my car, I don't want to screw it up. And Wildes was suggesting they go the exact opposite. Treat it like a rental car. Like if I bust up the tires, who cares? It ain't mine anyway. I got to get where I'm trying to go. I'm going to add 1 key. And this is for all the playoff games. And this is where our producers get a little annoyed with me. They're like, Nick, it's the Friday before playoff week, and what's the first thing you're going to talk about? And I tell them, kicking. One of the games this weekend is going to come down to a kicker. Mark it down. Wild June, roll your eyes all you want. I know it's not great television.
I'll take that
audience
bet.
comes here
that.
for great analysis.
He's going to write it down.
Cody Parkey.
There you go.
Cody Parkey has not hit a 50-yard field goal all year. Hadn't even tried one. Conversely, the Steelers, Boswell, is he going to play? Are they going to go with this Stephen Wright cousin of mine? Don't know. They think Boswell is going to play. So in Heinz Field, where it's already tough to kick in a game that you expect to be close, I think that this game could come down to guys we never talk about. I also think this, Wilds, we are going to know after the first quarter. The last time we've seen a coaching staff truly decimated by COVID, we knew after the first 2 drives in, what was it, the Bucs-Lions game? It's like, oh, the Lions are drawing dead.
Cooking time.
If after the first quarter, the Browns look like the Browns, then I think you're going to get the type of game I expect, which is a close game that, I'll give a pick out early, I think the Browns are going to win late. I think if this game is a close game, the Browns win. I don't think the Browns have the ability to blow out the Steelers, and there is a slight concern of mine that we're going to know 5 minutes in, oh, we have underrated how much the COVID situation has decimated Cleveland. This is going to look like Cleveland, Pittsburgh in week 1 of the regular season, or I'm sorry, their first time playing in the regular season. That is a slight concern, Wilds, but if that's not the case, I think Cleveland wins the game.
Yeah, so Cleveland hasn't practiced all week, Nick. And like you said, the last time we saw coaches down, Tom Brady threw for 4 touchdowns, 350 yards in the first half, and then sat. So I think you're right that the game could be over. Here's the fun stat. You could put Nick Wright back on the screen there, Katanik. Nick, you know how they have economic indicators, and just because a stat is weird doesn't mean it's not true. So one of my favorite ones is undershirts. So undershirts, when undershirt sales are up, the economy is up. And undershirt sales are down, the economy's going bad because people are getting tight with their money, and undershirt is the last thing no one sees. You don't need to buy any undershirts. Jarvis Landry, Brandon, I'm going to add this as a 4th key too. Jarvis Landry. The Browns are 5-1 when Jarvis Landry throws a pass. So that is, I'm just like, well, who cares? Wow. I think it's like an economic indicator where that means the Browns are playing loose and taking chances and being creative. I think if Jarvis Landry throws,
they're going to have
Jenna, here's where I start to get crazy. This is my addition show. 2 passes. Throw 2 passes. And I don't think Tomlin's like, well, certainly not. Jarvis Landry's not going to
you can't throw the whole game plan out. I mean, you got to stay
this is the game plan.
In line with who you are as the Cleveland. Oh, 2 passes for Jarvis Landry. I don't know. What do you think?
2 passes, throw it around. X Factor.
Throw it around. I like it. I like it. Look, here's what I would say. Brandon. Here's what I would say, Nick, really quick. I think you're right, and you sound like Mike Shanahan to me. Mike Shanahan used to always say, when he would roll out his keys to the game for us, it will always start with, we have to start fast. So everything you talked about with the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield, if it's a close game, and if they, in those first 5 minutes, we will know. So what you're saying is, they need to start fast. And if they start fast, it could get really scary and ugly for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Especially because I think it's noteworthy, Big Ben has played 1 good half of football since Thanksgiving. I don't know if he ate a little too much on Thanksgiving. I wouldn't accuse him of that. But since then, Big Ben has looked excellent in 1 half of football. And as far as Jenna's point about the Browns staying true to who they are, I didn't know the Jarvis Landry numbers, but if they've played 16 games. If in 6 of them, Landry has thrown a pass, which is what it would be if they're 5-1 when he throws a pass, that means that is who they are.
Career.
So what
Might be his career.
It might be his career. All right, we're going to have to fact check that.
I think it's his career.
We're going to have to fact check that. Appreciate that. Okay, that makes a little more sense. But what I do anticipate, Brandon, is this happening this weekend. Let me go ahead and do it right here. Do you know what that is? That's a signature win. It's a signature win for Baker Mayfield. First of his career. First signature win of Baker Mayfield's career. It's coming, Jenna. It's coming.
Don't underestimate what the Steelers can do. They've had a full week to rest. So this is not all about what the Browns plan to do. We'll see. Another big game this weekend, Tampa up in Washington. As far as experience goes, advantage Bucs. As far as Nick goes, advantage Washington. We'll discuss why next. First things first.
Guys, huge upset. Jenna's picking the Steelers. Shocker.
What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I welcome in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
Saturday night's wild card showdown in Washington. Fox Bet Sportsbook has Tom Brady and the Bucs favored by 8 on the road. I know what you're thinking. Brady's not a roadie. 21 years in the NFL. This is the first time we see him as a wild card stud. So, Brandon, are you surprised Brady and the Bucs are such heavy favorites? Call them a stud.
Jenna, we're supposed to sit here when we get these opportunities, right? Like, man, my career is coming to an end. And I get an opportunity to talk sports and get paid to do it. So we're supposed to sit up here and educate and try to lean on our experience. But I can't do that this segment. Can we just stop playing like this is a real game? Like, come on.
Wow.
Like, this is the NFC East. We're trying to make this thing as oh my goodness. The Washington football team, this front seven, we're just hanging on to anything we can to make this a game. You turn on any channel, everybody, the only thing they talk about is the Washington football team front seven. Well, what about their back end? What about their quarterback? What about the wide receivers, the running backs, the offensive line? This is not a game. This is a team that need Doug Peterson to bench their starting quarterback so the Giants don't get in. Going into week 17, the Cowboys still had an opportunity to get into the playoffs. I don't want to talk about no X's and O's here. This isn't a game.
I do. I love it, Brandon. Listen, so it's not surprising that Bucs are huge favorites. We all saw this coming. Bucs get a bye. They have 4 bad opponents. People love betting Brady. You knew they were going to get the winner of the NFC least, all of it. But Kevin Wildes, yesterday I showed America what they thought was my dossier on Brady. That was actually the Cliff's Notes version. 1 second, I apologize. I have to grab the full dossier. Because here it is. Here's the actual dossier. These are the real notes. All written, you can see about why the Tampa Bay Bucs are going to lose this weekend. And we have new information we have saved for Friday. But let's first recap for people who haven't been watching all week. What do we want to start with? Let's start with Tom Brady's most recent playoff history. How's that looking? Oh, wait. Hasn't looked good. His last 3 games, he's stunk. And he wouldn't have even been able to stink in the Super Bowl if he didn't get a phantom offsides call in the AFC Championship game where he stunk thin. Show me the next one. I don't even know which one's coming up next, but I know it's bad for Brady. Oh, right. He stinks on the road in the playoffs. That's over the last 15 years. Show me the next one, please. I think this one has to do with sleep deprivation. Oh, wait, sleepy Tom Brady. He stinks at night. Guess what? This game's at night. Okay, what about against good opposition? Show me that one, please. Oh, how's Tom Brady this year against playoff teams? Oh, he's terrible. Guess what? It's the playoffs. They're all playoff teams. And now, last but not least, to my friend Brandon Marshall. You know why everyone's talking about the front seven? Because Tom Brady, under pressure, it's not that he stinks. He's god-awful. He's terrible. He can't handle it. So, you know what my dossier says? It says, oh, buddy Nick Wright's going to make a lot of money on Washington this weekend. That's right. Got to put it back in the file. So, Kevin Wildes, no, I'm not surprised it's an 8-point spread. I'm just glad. Keep driving that number up. Because I'm betting the money line. Let's go. Let's go.
Fantastic. Okay, here's my thing for you, Brandon. Here's where the Knicks dossier was very political. Let you talk about last 3 games, playoffs last 15 years. But maybe my memory is a little bad. I feel like he's been okay in the last few years, but who knows? Maybe it's just all those Super Bowl rings that are messing with the mojo in the Brady household. Okay, here's the thing. Let's just focus on the Bucs are peaking, and Brandon, you've been on this. A truncated preseason, new guys, new uniforms. What's going on? Starting to come together. AB played 8 games. He had 4 touchdowns. And guess what? All 4 of those touchdowns last 3 weeks. How about old Godwin? What's he been up to? He had 7 touchdowns in the whole season. But you know when 4 of those touchdowns came? Last 3 weeks. I know you might say, oh, wow, it's against the Lions. That doesn't really count. Yep. It does count. A little bit of a funky thing because they didn't have a coaches or staffer, but still, does count. The GOAT, since in week 14, been playing better than Mahomes. And he's right there at Aaron Rodgers. And I know you're going to say, Nick, I'm going to throw it back to you, Nick. Oh, front 7. We're going to go after Tom Brady. They do have a secret little weapon. And I pulled out an old quote from 2017 where Gronk said, this was the quote, I appreciate the ability to go out there and block J.J. Watt. So if it gets really bad, we not only have, I almost said we, look at me, I turned into a Bucs fan. The Bucs do not only have your normal offensive line, you got old Gronk there. You got Gronk as a big blocking safety net. So I'm still going to go. Bucs by 8 is a lot, but I'm more on Brandon's team than
you
yours.
go. Brandon's champing at the bit. I got to hear Brandon. Brandon, you go.
Yeah, because I know what you're going to say. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to respond to Wilds and talk about, well, those last 4 games, those last 3 games, who did they play? What was the competition level?
That's correct.
And this is what I would say to you, Nick. All right, so I'm just trying to get ahead of you a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy.
Yep,
offensively, we can get better without anybody out there. We can go to a high school field in the middle of the day in June, and we can just throw passes, we can huddle up, and we can build our chemistry. Defensively, we need to go against an offense. We need to feel the tight end release, and we need to see what the offensive line are doing and how they're working their combos. So when we talk about Tampa Bay going against Detroit and playing against the Falcons, it still matters because those are routes on the air for us. Those are opportunities for us to get mental reps. So when you see where that offense started at the beginning of the year, Nick, and where they're at today, it's a big difference, and it doesn't matter who they played against.
So, listen, I think that all makes sense. And there's been a lot of very, very smart people, such as Brandon Marshall, have made that point. That you've got to recognize that every team was going to look one way in September and another way in December. That's the case in most years. It's particularly the case this year with no offseason. It's particularly the case with the team that just added the greatest quarterback of all time with no offseason. Bruce Arians, new weapons, all of it. All of it makes total sense, and a lot of smart people are saying it. I'm here to tell you they're all wrong. The reason the Bucs look better is because the competition stunk. Guess what? Everything Brandon thought I was going to say, I was going to say, because that's the story here. It's not that all of a sudden they've mind melded. It's because they got Falcons, Lions, Panthers as their final 4 in one order or another, and we're about to see them against a real defense. That's what I believe, Jenna Wolfe. I got more in the dossier, by the way.
None of them.
There's more coming later.
None of them have a dossier. None of them have that dossier. Time for Nick's NBA medals as we set the NFL aside for a brief moment. Nick, no KD, no Kyrie, no problemo for the Nets.
That's right.
Joe Harris taking care of business. Game high 28.
Sorry, Jenna.
Win over the Sixers last night. That's okay. No, you do you. I love it. I love how excited you were today.
I was going to say, I wanted to include Joe Harris, Jenna, because Brandon's guys won. They beat my team, but there were too many other great performances. Joe Harris just missed out. Let's start with Nikola Jokic. He gets a bronze medal. We tend not to give losers, and they did lose, any medals. However, Nikola, he hit the game-time shot to force overtime. He gets your bronze medal. He had 38, 9, and 13, even though they lost. Great game. Silver medalist. Wild's guy, Dame time. Damian Lillard.
Yeah, let's go.
39, 7, and 7. And Wild, he only played 29 minutes. You know, he was outstanding. Hit 7 threes. Could have had easily a 50-point game if he played more. But the gold medalist. And listen, there is no biases here, but I'm proud to announce our first 2-time gold medalist. First guy with 2 of them, my son, Luka. Because as good as Jokic was, Luka was better. 38, 9, 13, and 4. You know what we call this, Brandon? Playing yourself into shape. Luka, not necessarily the best off-season plan. And now, 2 gold medals in the last week. Yeah. So there it is. There's the NBA medals, Brandon.
Listen, I'm glad that you brought that up because Luka finished so strong last year, and then he comes in after 70-something days off, and he looked like his, I don't want to, talk about anybody's body, but he was out of shape. Yeah. He looked worse than James Harden. Now he's looking good. When did he start the season off? 2 for like 30 from the 3? Come on, Luka.
Yeah,
but hold on. Somebody's calling me, Wilds. Hey, Mav Carter, Rich Paul. Yeah, I got Nick right here. LeBron James is almost 50 years old. He 27 points, 12 assists, and how doesn't he even get bronze? That's what they want me to talk to you about. What?
Listen, what Mav and Rich understand, we discussed, they're part of, I'm not supposed to tell you who's on the committee, but Clutch Sports has a good contingent on the committee, as does the Uninterrupted crew. You can't reward a loss to the Spurs. So they understand LeBron was individually very good, but you can't reward a loss to the Spurs, Wilds. Wilds, what I missed?
50s, 27 points.
Oh, well, we have one person who missed the cut just by a hair, just barely, and it was Andre Drummond. You know what? A lot of people are making fun of this. I'm like, why? We talk about the depth of the mid-range. Here we get shots at the rim and threes. This is a terrible shot. So he's like, I'm not shooting this. I'm not even going to move. He's like, you know what I got to do? Get to the rim. Now this play, okay, that's halfway. That's a halfway good play. I've seen the professor do this. He went to go play the kid on Long Beach. You've seen it. You go around, the person's like, what's going on? You catch it and shoot it. So he just was halfway to an amazing play. Just missed the cut.
I don't know. We're not even halfway. Not even halfway.
His trainer, Justin Z, is watching and scratching his head. This dude trains right around the corner from me. What is he doing?
He wasn't practicing
Guess where I will be all weekend, guys, on my couch watching football. Guess who'll be doing the same thing? Mahomes and Rodgers. Probably on their own couches, not my couch. They await next week's opponent. Everything you need to know going into this wild card weekend. It's next. First things first.
Hey, First Things First listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
Tomorrow on Fox, Russell Wilson leads the Seahawks against Aaron Donald and the Rams. It's all part of Super Wild Card Weekend tomorrow, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Whoa. Time for Drawing a Blank now. Starting with Baker versus Ben. Browns and Steelers Sunday night. They split in the regular season, but Big Ben sat in that last Sunday's finale. So, Brandon, the player you are most excited to watch on Wild Card Weekend is blank.
Lamar Jackson, the most exciting football player still playing, right? A lot of guys went home around, 600, 700 guys packed up their bags and went home. So who's left? Lamar Jackson. You got to watch this dude. Must-see TV. He's been getting it done with his legs, but he's also been getting it done with his arm. I've been crushing Greg Roman this entire year, saying he's awesome at dialing up in the run game, but he's missing the mark in the passing game. He's not helping this kid develop. But I looked a little closer the last couple days. This team is actually really efficient throwing the ball the last 3 or 4 weeks. Greg Roman is doing a better job. They do need to go in the offseason and tweak some things, but what they're working with now could get them a win or two in the playoffs, Nick.
I love that answer. That was almost my answer, but Lamar came in second to Tom Brady. And here's why. And you're going to think, Nick's going to bash Brady. That's not what's going to happen here. I'm going to take everyone on a little time machine back 1 year ago this Friday. Jenna will remember this. Wilds and Brandon were yet to join the show. It was the Friday before Wild Card Weekend. We were asked this exact question, and I answered Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Folks said, why? And I said, because I want to watch his final game with the Patriots. And you know what I was met with? Oh, my God, you're a hater. A, he's probably not leaving. B, they're not losing to the Titans. And one noodly armed pick six to Logan Ryan later, it's his final game with the Patriots. Okay. So why am I excited to watch Tom Brady this weekend? His final playoff game ever? Me thinks possibly. The greatest playoff quarterback ever, the greatest playoff performer ever, the greatest player ever.
Oh, now
this
you want to
might
talk
be
about
our very last chance to watch him. Oh, it's all true. Might be our very last chance to watch him in the postseason. So savor it, America.
Yeah,
Saturday evening. That's who I'm most excited to watch.
Bowl.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I like that one.
Wilds.
I like that one.
Oh, go Badgers, buddy. Dun, 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 dun. If you want to be a Badger. Dun, 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 dun. I didn't go there, so I don't know the whole song. 253 yards for Jonathan Taylor last week. Moved him up to third in the whole season. Remember, we were like, oh, Clyde Edwards-Helaire's going to win Rookie of the Year. Well, Justin Herbert's going to win. But Jonathan Taylor made a case for himself. Rushing leader since week 11. Look at this guy. Oh, him and King Henry just needs a few more stiff arms to get a little more national publicity. And Brandon, I'd be worried about your Bills. 3 teams that ran a lot on the Bills. The Chiefs ran for 245. The Cardinals ran for 217. Those were both losses. The Patriots ran for 188. Should have been a win. I'm counting as a moral victory. If Cam didn't cough the ball up, we would have won that game. So the key to beating the Bills, Jonathan Taylor running all over them. Nick spares himself getting mustard and ketchup all over his face.
All right, speaking of King Henry, Derrick Henry and the Titans 3-point underdogs at home against the aforementioned Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens in the rematch of last year's divisional round rumble. But, Brandon, the team that should be on upset alert this wild card weekend is blank.
This is tough for me. Before the season started, I picked the Pittsburgh Steelers to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. They started off 11-0. But then they went on a skid, 1-4 to end the season. And Nick, you talked about it. Big Ben had one good half in that stretch. They barely beat the Colts. They should have lost that game. There was a couple pass interferences that extended drives. There were 2 or 3 bus coverages in the secondary. They should have lost this game. Phillip Rivers just couldn't punch it in to take this team up another score to put this game out. So I think the Pittsburgh Steelers need to they better take the Cleveland Browns serious. No Kevin Stefanski, no problem.
It's a great it's a great take, Brandon. And that would have been my pick if not for 2 bigger upsets that are on the horizon. Double pick, Washington upsetting the Bucs, and the Colts upsetting the Bills. 2 touchdown dogs, both win.
Love it.
1 at home, 1 on the road. Pick which one you'd like me to discuss. We've talked a lot about those guys. The Bucs are going to lose. How about the Bills? Hey, I got a question. Well, you know what? I'm going to save the Josh Allen dossier stuff later because I got a big file on him. Not quite as big as Brady, but a big file on Josh Allen. I'm going to save it. Bills and Bucs, both on upset alert. Go ahead, Kevin Wilds.
Okay, everybody laughed at your old buddy Kevin Wilds when he picked the Jets, and guess what? Prognosticators came through for America. Won people a lot of money. A lot of people have been sending me Venmos. Thank you, Kevin. I donated right to charity.
Where are we going?
America. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your integrity. This team played twice in the regular season. The quarterback was sacked 11 times combined, Brandon. The same quarterback, these are 2 games, threw for 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. The team scored 20 points one game and won, and 16 points the next game and lost. That quarterback was Russell Wilson. That defense is the best defense in the league, the Rams. And guess what now they have? Guess what they now have? Sorry. Oh, what is that? Oh, is that Scott Howard in the bathroom changing into a wolf? Gonna dunk the ball now? Oh, wow.
Michael J. Fox reference. Oh.
Michael J. Fox reference. The Wolfpack will howl.
Yes.
Jared Goff should not start.
No.
Get the Wolfman out there.
No, don't say yes, Jenna.
I was a huge Michael J. Fox fan. Wrap your head around that. On to Lamar Jackson now, still searching for a playoff win. Number 1. He'll have a chance to exact some revenge Sunday for last year's divisional round loss to the Titans. But Brandon, the player with the most to prove this weekend is blank.
Yeah, I hear you. Drew Brees. Look, I'm big on Instagram. I'll post every day. If it's not in my feed, it's in my story. I'm posting. I rarely post on Twitter. But look, I will look at it. There's a lot of people on my Twitter feed right now sending me old footage of me in the preseason saying that this team is done. They're going to win the regular season and they're going to implode in the postseason. I hear you guys. Yeah. Oh, well, Brandon, you said this. Look how good they are. Look, Drew Brees has the most to prove because the last couple years, with all those dogs he had around him, they were one and done. This is the year that Drew Brees needs to get it done because if he doesn't, he's going to go into retirement looking at 3 years in a row of having a phenomenal offense, a phenomenal defense, second half of their seasons, and lose the game.
Yep.
First round of the playoffs.
Oh, man.
Drew Brees, most to prove.
Oh, no. Okay, hold on. America. That is not Brandon's full actual prediction. Brandon, you and I needed to talk before the show because you're almost there. Can we put Brandon up with me? Brandon, you absolutely should remind America that you predicted Saints regular season success and postseason failure. You absolutely should bang that drum starting Monday. Because they're going to be playing the Seahawks in round 2. And you're going to be right once they get to the Seahawks. But now all of a sudden, when they beat Mitch Trubisky, folks are going to be like, Brandon, you idiot. But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about deep playoff run. No, so America, just understand Brandon's Drew Brees and
y'all
Saints
changed the
pick.
question up on
It's a multi-week pick. It's a multi-week pick, okay? He's not wrong when they beat Mitch Trubisky. It's about
I needed
round
this
2
opportunity.
That's what he's talking about.
If you go to my timeline right now, there's at least 200,000 people talking to me about this Saints. I needed this opportunity to address that.
I know you did, but you don't want to let them say they were right. Okay, my answer is this, Wilds.
A lot of followers.
Josh Allen. Here's my question. Have we ever had a player more hyped going into a postseason who had accomplished less? Find me the guy. Find me the guy who had more hype going into a playoff game before his first playoff win. I'd love to see it. So you know who's got a lot to prove? Josh Allen. Because if they lose at home to Philly, Rivers, and the Colts, as a wise man once said, that ain't great. And for a guy who last year had a 16-point playoff lead against Bill O'Brien and lost it in part because of his fumble, you can't then answer that by going 13-3 and losing your first playoff game. So a guy who has proven nothing in the playoffs has the most to prove, Wilds.
Yeah.
Okay, here's this one. Brandon, you'll like this one. Boom.
Jim Harbaugh. What do you think about this one? Why Jim Harbaugh doesn't even play? Because Mike Vrabel, who did play, came into Baltimore and took your lunch money. He broke down the Titans right on the Ravens logo. Remember Harbaugh came out like, that's disrespectful. Vrabel's like, go coach, we're about to beat you guys. Hello, beat them. This is the post-game handshake that didn't happen. Then they're like, no, we shook hands. Like, what? It's on video, guys. What are you talking about? Jim Harbaugh, now you're going to Tennessee.
John Harbaugh.
If you're just on your own side of the field, doing calisthenics, Vrabel's won the mind battle already. You got to go right to the Titans logo, start doing TikToks, start taking the Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma State flag, do whatever you need to do. Because Vrabel right now is in your head, and they've been on a hot streak ever since they broke it down on your logo. Jim Harbaugh, got something to prove.
John.
3 times.
All right, guys. Yep. Back to the Bills now as they get set to host the Colts this weekend.
John Harbaugh,
I lived in Western New York for a couple of years, but you only said it 3 times, so you're good. I can tell you with absolute certainty his name is John.
Michigan was playing.
There's nothing better than postseason football in Buffalo. It's next. First things first.
Playoffs.
I helped you out.
Get ready for Super Wild Card Weekend for the first time ever. 2 days of triple headers. Super Wild Card Weekend kicking off tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. Cancel all your plans. These are your new plans for this coming weekend. And with that, we shift our focus to Western New York. Bills hosting the Colts. The red-hot Bills of Buffalo, led by the red-hot Josh Allen, going up against a Colts team with a quarterback in Phillip Rivers, who might be calling it a career after this run. Who knows? Our quarterback, Mike Vick, joining us now. Mike, who wins this game, Colts or Bills?
Unravel Buffalo. Buffalo, they finished the season, on a hot streak. I think they finished strong. I like the way they really overwhelmed the Miami Dolphins and beat them by 30. I did not see that coming. But I think the big catalyst for all of that has been Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and their ability to, compete each and every week, prove to be unstoppable, and really put a lot of pressure on defenses. That combination alone, is going to combine for, over maybe 150 yards. And the only chance that the Colts have of stopping them is Xavier Rhodes getting into a groove. And a lot of respect to my man Xavier. I still think he got a lot left in the tank, but he's going to have his work cut out for him with Stephon Diggs. And I'm pretty sure he's up for the challenge. And Phillip Rivers, you just said it, Jenna. I mean, this could be the last run for him. So I expect him to give everything he has, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. A lot of inconsistencies this season, ups and downs. And I think he's weathered the storm for the most part. And they're in a position where this might be his last chance to compete for a title. Yep. So hopefully he takes that serious and takes that into consideration. But collectively as a team, can they put it all together to beat a red-hot Buffalo Bills team? And it's a new era in Buffalo. So they're going to be gunning, and they're going to be, ready for this challenge. So it's going to take everything for the Indianapolis Colts to beat the Buffalo Bills on the road this weekend.
So listen, there's a lot of factors to this game that I could get into. Excuse me, I apologize, America. And I'm not one to, be super excited about backing Phillip Rivers in a big spot. And there's also the legitimate concerns about both of these teams have rookie kickers. I think that could rear its head in this game. Phillip Rivers' playoff record, all of it. But folks don't want to hear me talk about that. They want to hear me talk about Josh Allen. And here is what I don't understand. I don't understand how we have just anointed Josh Allen with a level of respect and deference I've never seen a quarterback get prior to his first career playoff win. He is the most hyped quarterback going into the playoffs without a playoff win that I can ever remember. I remember the hype surrounding Mike Vick going into his first playoff game. Guess what? His team was a touchdown underdog. Nobody was like, you know what? I think Vick's leading the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Nope, they were like, I think they're losing in round 1 to Green Bay. Now Vick ended up winning, but that's the #1 pick, Mike Vick. And people were like, let's see him do it in the playoffs. In Buffalo, you have a quarterback who's played one playoff game and lost it and didn't play well. You have a coach who I like, but we've seen him play in the playoffs twice. His first performance in the playoffs, his team scored 3 points. And his second performance in the playoffs, they were up 16-0 and lost 22-19. The idea that they are these juggernauts because they're on a good run at the end of the year is beyond me. So I'm going to go with the team with, I believe, the better coach in Frank Reich.
Josh
I'm going to go with the team
level.
with at least the most. He is at another level. But the problem for Josh Allen's levels is he bounces between them. And he's been up at this level for about a month now, which means one of those levels is coming. So I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm going to be the only person in America that does it. I think the Colts win a close game. And I think the Josh Allen discussion gets back to a sane place, Brandon.
Yeah, Nick, and you're right. I think what happened was there was that 2 or 3 game skid that Josh Allen had, and it kind of shocked everybody. It was like, man, we thought this kid was going to be the next thing. He was progressing nicely. And then all of a sudden after that skid, he started playing lights out. So if you take the averages of all of those games, he's right underneath Mahomes. 107% passing rate. Mahomes is at 108. So look, I think this kid has huge upside, and I think this kid is ready. A few things here. Let me talk a little football. All right. This is the hottest team, Nick, the Buffalo Bills. We could say that this team should be on a 10-game win streak. If you take away the Hail Murray, they lost to what's the team? Help me out. The Arizona Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins. The DeAndre Hopkins on a Hail Mary. If you take that game away in that play, they're on a 10-game winning streak. So that's a little football there. Another little football is when you look at this matchup, it's a balanced matchup. These are two of the teams that can do everything in all three phases. Defense, they can play really good ball. Offensively, they can play really good ball. Special teams, they're solid. So when you look at this, I now shift to the psyche of players. And we don't talk a lot about the mindset of these players. That factor, that thing that when guys get into those big moments, we talk about it around Baker Mayfield in football now, like, who is this guy in big moments? You go to some of the greats, the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, the LeBron James. Do they have that thing that when the lights are on or somebody says something to them, they go to a whole nother level? I think about Phillip Rivers, and I'm a little nervous for my Buffalo Bills team. And the reason why is because Phillip Rivers, and you talked about it, Mike Vick. You talked about it. You said this could potentially be his last chance to go to the AFC Championship, to have his run at the Super Bowl. So think about him playing in the AFC Championship game back in San Diego on the ACL tear. Where is his mindset going to be in this game? Because this is a streaky player. He can get really hot. He can get really cold. If this dude gets hot and wild, it's going to be a scary moment for the Buffalo Bills team that should win this game.
Okay, do you think that could backfire, though, Mike? That Phillip Rivers, like, this might be my last game. I got a high school job waiting for me. And he tries to do too much. And he ends up giving the ball away. And that ends up dooming them. I think if he played sort of a middling game and let Jonathan Taylor, who's been red hot, sort of run it down the Bills' throat, that's their best path to success.
Yeah, it could go either way, Wiles. I think he can go into this game with a mindset of, look, this could be my last game potentially, so I'm going to air it out and just be myself and let it go. Or he can go into the game and play timid or conservative. I would err on the side of him going in and letting the 17-year vet savviness hang all out, especially against a Buffalo Bills team, the quarterback, in Josh Allen, who's up and coming. He's going to try to show him, look, you might be the next generation or the next wave of quarterbacks to come into the league, but I'm still here holding it down. So I feel like, Phillip has that fire and that passion. And, go back to Josh Allen in terms of what Brandon said, and he hit that skid. And Nick, you was talking about the ups and the downs, throughout the season in his career. Sometimes that bodes well. I think that really helps a quarterback grow. That skid, like Brandon said, you come back and now the passer rating is over 100 for 3 straight weeks. So you learn, in those situations. But for both of these guys, I think they're at the pinnacle. Well, Josh Allen is certainly at the pinnacle of his career, and Phillip Rivers has a lot to prove. So it's a lot at stake for both of them, man, which makes it a very interesting matchup.
And I want to be fair. I do think Josh Allen has proven his A-level game is exceptional. When he is hitting, this offense looks as dynamic as any offense in football, and he's had a bunch of games. That chart doesn't only show lows, it shows a bunch of super high highs. So I give him credit for that. But, and I know Bills fans aren't going to want to hear this, I almost feel like, Jenna, the Bills have played too well as of late, and by that I mean this. What's the last close game they played in? What's the last big situation? We've got to pick up this first down. We've got to score on this drive. It was in that Cardinals game. And yeah, they lost that Cardinals game because of the Hail Mary. They also lost it because Josh Allen threw 2 picks and had a 77 rating. They are not going to mollywop their way through the playoffs. They're going to be in big spots. And they're going to be in big spots with a coach who hasn't had success in those moments up to at this point in his career, a quarterback who hasn't had success in those moments or even had many of them up to this point in his career. And I don't like that for the Bills' future. I do like it for my ability to finally mute all the Bills Mafia folks. My God, enough.
Yeah, those Bill Mafia folks outside your front door right now, Nick. Big story yesterday, the news out of Houston, which reportedly did not sit well with Deshaun Watson. Could we be seeing the beginning of the end of Deshaun in Houston? Say it, Nick. What does Houston have? First things first.
Nothing.
Just say it.
Nope, I'm not saying
What do they have? Back here talking about the Houston Texans. So it was being reported just a few weeks ago that Deshaun Watson was going to be consulted in the search for their next head coach, reportedly wanting Chiefs OC Eric Bieniemy, a candidate the Texans haven't even interviewed. And now reports surfaced that Deshaun Watson is, quote, extremely unhappy with the hiring process. Guys, between this and what's happening with James Harden, Houston, we now have two problems.
Let's go.
Vic. Mike Vic. Back with us now.
Yeah, man.
Mike.
They got a problem.
Does Deshaun Watson have the right to be extremely unhappy with the Texans?
Absolutely. He has every right to be unhappy. And a guy, like Deshaun, who's an amazing talent, who has the ball in his hands, every player, and has proven that he knows what to do when he got the ball in his hands, deserves to know every move that the Houston Texans will be making now and moving forward in the future. And, he uttered that at the end of the season. I want leadership. We want, a coach who's going to come in here and demand the respect of the players. And because Deshaun Watson is in a position where he is a leader, he has every right to do that. And the one thing I always hated was when our coaches, especially early in my career, went out and hired, free agents and general managers and didn't consult with me. Now, the general manager part, I understand. Like that's a totally different, line of work. That's a position where people in that spot have to understand what's going on around the team. So I trust that. I really wanted to be involved more so with the free agency and guys coming in and out. But Deshaun Watson has every right to express his opinion, to have open dialogue with everybody in the organization, and they should be wanting to make him happy. So now he's going to be a disgruntled employee for the next couple months until they make it right. And then the biggest caveat is that they traded his man D-Hop without even talking to him about that. So I think that rubbed them the wrong way. And for that reason alone, I think they should consult with him about every move that's being made with this franchise moving forward.
And Mike, they promised him that he would be a part of this process. That's the biggest thing, is that you sat down and said, we want you to have a seat at the table when we're picking our general manager and our head coach, and you don't do that. So now you have lost all trust. I don't believe you. So now this relationship, it could be to the point where you can't repair it. And honestly, you got to think about it. Mike, they only won 4 games. He led the league in passing yards in a bad year, on a bad team. He's the only bright spot there. And you're the quarterback. And I always tell these younger quarterbacks, Mike, I'm like, look, you have to have the ability, because you are the CEO of the organization. Don't get it wrong. You have to have the ability to lead up to ownership, and you have to be relatable in the offense. You're not just a player. So for him not to have a seat at the table after you promised him this, I don't know how you fix this, because we're trying to do business and win games for the next 10 years, and I can't even trust you anymore.
Trust.
Well, and it's worse than even you guys have laid out. I used to be there. Let me just give the quick timeline here. The guy who picked Deshaun Watson, stood on the table for him, said we got to trade up for him, is a man named Rick Smith. He was the GM of the team. Great man, great personnel guy. He took a leave of absence from the team to tend to his sick wife, who tragically has since passed away. They forced him out during that leave of absence. Nope, don't need you. We got the old pastor, team chaplain for the Patriots. He's going to take things over. You had the Bill O'Brien mayhem. You trade away DeAndre Hopkins, arguably the best receiver in football. Oh, how about that? I didn't even know that. That's a great guy. And by the way, when we were talking about GM openings, he absolutely should be a guy who's at the top of a lot of people's list. But that's neither here nor there. They trade away DeAndre Hopkins. They never get him an offensive line. They decide David Johnson is going to be the big help. The defense stinks. It's a disaster. So, of course, he should be unhappy. And, of course, Wilds, he should want out. And for his sake, I want him out. He is arguably the 3rd best quarterback in the entire NFL. You can make that argument. He deserves better than Houston. So, Kevin Wilds, time for some fake trades that should happen. People are going to mention the Saints. The Saints can't afford it. People are going to mention the Colts and the Jags. The Texans are not trading him within the division, even if it netted them Trevor Lawrence. There are 3 places that I think makes sense. One is in the AFC, the New York Jets. If the Jets call you and say, we will give you the second pick, we will give you 2 extra first-round picks and a second. If you're Houston and you have no draft picks, you're in a bad cap spot somehow, it's the worst position you can be. You're terrible, you have no picks, and you don't have cap space. It's just a disaster. You've got to reboot it. The Jets are interesting. In the NFC, Washington, the same package they gave up for RG3. 3 firsts, 3 seconds. You want to say no? You at least got to think about it. And then Wild's the one that should terrify the NFL. San Francisco. Deshaun Watson in Kyle Shanahan's offense. Vic, I heard you. Wilds, I want to go to you, but now I get Vic. Hold on. To me, Vic, that's 14-2. You get Kittle back, you get the defensive players back. Deshaun Watson in that offense, like, to me, that would be worth whatever San Francisco would have to pay for it, Vic.
When I was talking about trades with Carson Wentz and potential landing spots, the one team that I thought about was the San Francisco 49ers and pairing him up with Kyle Shanahan. And, and I think if you can give Kyle Shanahan a quarterback like Nick Mullins and he can go out and have success, then imagine what he'll do with a Deshaun Watson or a guy like Carson Wentz. So you hit it right there on the head, Nick. I've been saying it for a while, and this topic just surfaced today, and this thought just surfaced today. But now that we are talking about it, man, let Deshaun Watson get in the hands of the right person and the right coordinator, a guy who can call plays, and he's going to make magic happen. So if that's up in the air, especially under the circumstances that the Houston Texans are under moving forward, man, this will be a beautiful thing to see in terms of Deshaun Watson and his career and landing with the right coach.
Hey, everything you just said, Mike, is a distraction. Everything. I wanted to come up here and talk about potentially the Patriots and Bill Belichick trying to figure out a way to get it done. You got Nick, who he loves their Casario, and they like to do business together. Family's always going to keep it in family. But Nick Wilds, oh my goodness, you just gave me goosebumps and chills. And Wilds, I'm going to throw it to you quickly. If the Jets and Woody Johnson get this done, you know what's going to happen?
The Jets.
I'm going back. I'm going back.
That's why he took his hair down.
I'm going back.
Figure out why the hair went down.
Come get me.
Yo, I'm surprised that helmet still fit, bro.
It fit. And I got my jet green on today. Woo!
Okay, you got it. I love it.
I like it. That's what's happening.
Here's why I like
what's
the Jets.
happening.
Because for the Jacksonville thing, this is why I don't like the Jacksonville thing. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm not going to the worst team in the league, and I can't single-handedly build the franchise because I just tried to do it and failed. It just doesn't work. I need to go somewhere with a little bit of momentum. Jets fans, I know this sounds weird, juxtaposed like the momentum. Jets fans, remember you guys were crying because you won a game? Oh, we should have lost all the games. And I said, no. There's such thing as good sports karma. Just like when the Dolphins were going to lose all the games and Flores refused, and then they started winning games. If I'm Deshaun Watson and that deal comes across, I start hearing about the Jets deal, or maybe the way the Texans run the organization, he never even hears about it. But I say, you know what? You got a new coach, and you can reach out to your agent and say, you know what? How about you do a package deal? How about you do Bieniemy and me? I'll go if you guys get Bieniemy. Let's do that. How much power he has to make the move, but I would be very excited. Very excited. And you know what? Then you got a new wide receiver, Brandon Marshall, looking good.
Yeah, well, the Brandon Marshall part might put it over the top. Also, you might say, would Deshaun want to go to the Jets? Well, maybe the Jets would let him have a say in the coach, in Bieniemy. But also, there is such a thing as sports storylines. And Brandon Marshall, the producer he works with closest on this show is our great producer, Sam Pepper. And there are a group of people like Sam Pepper who are Jets fans, who are Mets fans, and who are New York Knicks fans, who never abandoned the Mets for the Yankees, never abandoned the Jets for the Giants, and didn't just jump ship from the Knicks to the Nets. All of a sudden, the Knicks, kind of interesting. The Mets just traded for Lindor and Carrasco. Could be fun. And the Jets, they Deshaun Watson. We got Watson. You got Daniel Jones. How you like that, Big Blue? Maybe it all turns on a dime like that for what is otherwise the saddest group of fans in the world. So all those reasons, I like the Deshaun and the Jets.
I don't care what happens. Eric Bieniemy and Deshaun Watson together.
Brandon needs a little break.
Yep.
Got to take that thing off. Back to Wild Card Weekend. What would it take for the Browns to pull off the upset of upsets? It is Baker versus Ben. Who do you trust more? Next, first things first. Get ready for Super Wild Card Weekend. For the first time ever, it is not 1, 2 days of triple headers. Super Wild Card Weekend kicking off tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. Cancel all your other plans. This is what you should be watching. Time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks Built to Serve. And we're back here talking Super Bowl 55 with the playoffs getting underway tomorrow. It is time for the gentleman on the panel to make some Super Bowl picks. The lady will reserve her picks till the week before the Super Bowl. That's when it's easy.
Ooh, you're gonna make us wait.
Before the season. Way to go out there, Jenna. Before the season started, Nick, you had the Cowboys and Chiefs making it to Tampa. Are you still sticking with that pick?
Why are you bringing up old stuff? Why are you bringing up old stuff?
Because
that's so rude.
You all have
so unnecessary. It's unnecessary to bring up old stuff. I couldn't anticipate Dak Prescott snapping his leg. This is really, honestly, it's mean to Dak. No, I'm not still picking the Chiefs over the Cowboys because they're not there. They're not there. I'm not picking them. I am, though,
you shouldn't be allowed to participate.
Okay, you know what? That's not right. I'm going Chiefs out of the AFC. And, Nick, you're just picking them because you're from there. No, I'm picking them because they're so clearly better than everyone. And it is amazing to me that we are going to go through in the NFL the exact same thing we went through in the NBA, which is somehow the number 1 seed with the best player and the best overall team is like an underdog, where everyone's talking about the Bills, all of it. Derrick Henry's the MVP. Josh Allen's playing better than Patrick Mahomes. America, let me tell you something real quick. The Chiefs were playing for something as long as Pittsburgh was undefeated. In those first 11 weeks, Patrick Mahomes threw 30 touchdowns, 2 picks, had a 115 rating, and was a minus 1,000 MVP favorite. Then Pittsburgh melted down, and the Chiefs were essentially playing exhibitions that they won all of them that Mahomes played, but they didn't win by enough style points, and now folks are actually picking the Bills. So, of course, I'm picking the Chiefs, and in the NFC, I'm going with the Packers. I think it's going to be the single greatest quarterback matchup in the history of the Super Bowl, the 2 most talented quarterbacks ever. I think it's going to be an epic. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think the Chiefs are going to go back-to-back. So I've got the 2-1 seeds. I know it's chalkish, but it's going to win. Chiefs 38, Packers 34. I'll even throw the score in there even though it wasn't asked. That's my Super Bowl pick. Both 1 seeds, Brandon.
So you know what I learned? You know what I think, Nick? That there's no take integrity on this show anymore. So, guys, when I came on to this show, there was an onboarding process. And one of the first things we did is we all got together on a Zoom call, and Nick spoke, Jenna spoke, Wild spoke, our executive spoke, I spoke a little bit, and then Nick came back. And he said, you know what, Brandon, I just want you to know one thing. This is the number 1 rule on our show, take integrity. If you say something, you got to stick to it. Right. So I know your team, the Dallas Cowboys, that you chose to go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, isn't in it anymore. I feel like you shouldn't even participate in this segment right now. But if there's no more take integrity, then I'm going to change my pick because I chose the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks. So no take integrity, throw that out the window. No, so here's where I'm going. Right? And we need some balance on the show. Going back to last year, you chose the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. You chose the Lakers to win the NBA title. Yep. You said that the Clippers will lose early, and they did. Yep. So look, bro, you're not going to be right again this year. I'm sorry, we need a little balance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you want me to throw a score out there, just
Brandon.
And if you want me to throw a score out there, I'm gonna go 27-24.
You have the Bills winning the Super Bowl, and you have the Bucs getting there.
100%.
I just don't want you to make the same mistake Brandon made. So wait 1 second, Wilds, because I don't know what you're doing.
No, don't pick up that dossier.
I got to show you something. Okay.
Do not pick up that.
This is a different one. This is the Josh Allen dossier. It's not as thick. It's not as thick, but we're building it. We're building it. The Brady dossier's been thrown. I'm just telling you, before you make the same mistake, I've got some very interesting color-coordinated notes for you if you'd like them. But go ahead and make your pick at your own peril.
This dossier thing.
Okay. All right. I agree with the Chiefs pick. I think it's Chiefs over, if we're popping it, Chiefs over Rams. Like, Rams? Wow, do you really believe in the Wolfpack? I believe in the Wolfpack, partly because I like the guy's name and I like that he has a LinkedIn account. But they have the league's best defense. It's not a controversial pick. The teams with the best defense, best scoring defense to make it to the Super Bowl. 2016 Patriots, the Legion of Boom, 2010 Pittsburgh. It happens every few years, 4 times the last 10 years. So the idea that the Rams and a legendary player in Aaron Donald, and you can't throw deep on them with Jalen Ramsey, the Rams are going to make a run here. Unfortunately, I think they end up meeting the juggernaut Chiefs and lose. Chiefs over Rams 27-21. There you go.
Not bad.
It would be.
You got a point.
Brandon. It would be, to me, because I do love the Rams defense. It's not an insane take. I can't, though, imagine Jared Goff making the Super Bowl twice in 3 years. It just seems incomprehensible.
That'd be interesting.
Like,
now maybe
he will.
Goff?
Right. Well, it's post the Super Bowl. It feels like Flores figured him out, and he hasn't been the same since. Hadn't been the same since.
Yeah, and look, Wilds, this is why it's not a bad pick. I don't think it will happen. But when you think about it, the recipe is playing really good defense. There's been more teams that win the Super Bowl that had the number 1, number 2, number 3 defense than there was a team that had the number 1 quarterback in the league that year. So it's not bad, but they don't have enough. This is the worst offense out of any playoff team. They're not efficient. They're not consistent. That offense just doesn't have enough to get it done.
So
you're changing your pick.
Wolf's 1-0.
No, I said it's the worst offense outside of the Bears. Oh, Rams over Chiefs? You're changing the big... You guys,
I'm going to take it. Rams over Chiefs.
You're allowed to pick the best team.
Best defense.
No take integrity. Jenna, no take integrity. No take integrity.
Brandon, I love you. And I happen to think... Jenna, I'm sorry. I just want to say this. I happen to think this was the single best week of shows we've ever done since the 4 of us have been together. And it saddens my heart that the week is ended by Brandon making the single worst Super Bowl pick in the history of Super Bowl picks. It really is the worst Super Bowl pick that's ever been made on television history.
Wait till a few days before the Super Bowl. And then make your pick.
It's going to be genius when it comes true.
Enjoy football. Undisputed starts right now.